So he's like 7, maybe 8 years old, and didn't have anything to do that afternoon. His friends went to the movies without him, so he was down in Colonel Summers Park, a few blocks away. And Larry Lurch lived in this building here. He walked away from the correctional farm. He was in jail. He just walked away and came to Portland and got an apartment in here. And he said that day he'd been drinking and smoking marijuana all day. Didn't really remember anything that happened. But about 6 o'clock in the evening, he walked over to the park and he lured this little boy back to his place. He said that he had some returnable bottles that he could take back and get the refund for him. So the little boy came with him and he kept him in here all night. At one point, he held him by the neck, just held him like that for about 20, 25 minutes. And then he thought, well, maybe I'm hurting him, so he put him down. But by then he was dead. And he put his body into his laundry bag and carried him down the hill to Fish Market, threw him in the dumpster. And the next day, the guy who owned the Fish Market said that he smelled the body in there. He testified in court that he smelled the body in there, but he probably didn't because the boy hadn't been in there long enough. And it was the dumpster of a fish market, so it really smelled bad anyway. But it was important because Larry Lurch confessed to the murder, but under Oregon law, you couldn't convict somebody of murder on a confession alone. You had to have some other evidence. So the fish market guy's evidence was instrumental in convicting him of murder. He's in jail now, and he's up for parole this year for the first time. But he's probably not getting out. But he hasn't showed any remorse at all.
So remind us, what were the first two books?
Hidden History of Portland and Murder and Mayhem in Portland. And it's about organized crime and labor history in Portland in the 30s and 40s. Kind of a prequel to Portland Confidential because it tells how the vice scandal in the 50s came about and what was really behind it all. And it also is going to solve some unsolved murders.
You've been working on solving some?
Yeah, actually 3 murders, 2 from 1948, 1 from 1950. And we have good suspects. We have Richard Bradshaw was a suspect of the detective. We have the detective notes from Walter Graven. So Richard Bradshaw was a main suspect in these murders. And we have been trying to find out who Richard Bradshaw was, but haven't come up with anything. So we came to the conclusion that it's probably not his real name. And in the last couple of days, I've done some research that has identified somebody who might be that guy. And when this case was going on, her dad was the sheriff's detective who was looking into the case. And he had a recording that was made in the jail cell of the Wilson brothers who were executed for this murder. Probably didn't do it. And he was trying to connect what they had to say with 2 murders that happened in Portland a couple years earlier. She was about 4 years old when this happened, and she remembers a level of fear in the house and cars coming by and threats being made. Her mother told her at one point that the reason they didn't have some of the things that her friends, other police children had, was because her dad wouldn't take bribes. And they ended up leaving Portland during all this. He resigned from the case, and they left Portland and went to another town.
So, what final words do you have for the YouTube community? Why should anyone outside of Portland buy your books? Or
well, because it's about local history. You know, you might not live in Portland, but I'm trying to show how local history can really illuminate a community. So I'm just leading the way. I'm not trying to hog the market. So every community needs its own local historians, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So that's a good reason to read my books if you don't live in Portland.